What is up, everybody? This is Brian, the Toyota guy over here at Fred Anderson Toyota in Asheville, and I don't know why I've really not ever shot a video of these RAV4s, but honestly, it's well overdue. These RAV4s, and specifically the RAV4 hybrids, are a vehicle that I definitely sell almost every single week, both new and pre-owned. And if you look at the Toyota sales numbers as a whole, this is easily, by far, their top-selling vehicle. And for the last few years, it's actually been top ranked for a top-selling vehicle in the U.S. I think finally it beat out the F-150 for the total sales numbers. So I figured I'd actually take a few minutes today to kind of share with you guys what I like about these things and why I think they're so successful. All right, so I was getting this RAV4 ready for delivery today, and this is honestly, in my opinion, the quintessential RAV4. It's probably the most desirable as far as the color, the trim model, the feature set. It's kind of in the right price range for most of these RAV4s, and it just kind of got me thinking about wanting to talk about these today. So this one specifically is a 2023. It is a RAV4 XLE Premium. You can tell by the badging there, it is a hybrid. This is, of course, is the ubiquitous Lunar Rock color. Almost everybody's favorite color. Either you love it or you hate it, but for most people it's been our favorite color. Rumor is they might not have this color in 24, but I haven't really done the research to do this myself. But these are such an incredible vehicle. You know, I've sold a RAV4, and especially a RAV4 hybrid, to people with all different kinds of backgrounds and needs. You know, for starting families that want to have room for car seats, you know, I've sold them a RAV4, as long as they don't need like a third row and all that kind of stuff. For people that want to have an adventurous vehicle with all-wheel drive, that they can go take hiking trips and stuff in the mountains, I've sold them a RAV4 hybrid. For somebody wanting a great economy car, something that gets good fuel economy, you know, for getting to and from work, but maybe they want to have some extra space, I've sold them a RAV4 hybrid. For somebody who's maybe older and wants to get something a little bit newer, maybe they want to get out of a car, you know, something that sits up a little bit higher, has a little bit more, I call it the butt to seat ratio. It's a little easier to get in and out of. I've sold them a RAV4, definitely a RAV4 hybrid. So this is just one of those cars that just seems to fit everybody so well. And what I really like about them, just as far as a kind of a design and mechanical standpoint, is all RAV4 hybrids of every trim model are hybrid only. There is no way to get a front wheel drive hybrid RAV4. So for people that feel like they have to have the all-wheel drive and the traction, you can get it no matter what, of any trim level here. And because at this point Toyota sells so many of these, they do have a trim model and a color pattern for just about everybody. So as I explained, this one is an XLE Premium, which is kind of in the mid to upper tier for the model and the trim lineup. But you know, unfortunately, a lot of the RAV4s do have like cloth seating and not a whole lot of features in them because they are an economy car, economy SUV. But the XLE Premium kind of sandwiches itself right there between the XLE and the Limited, where you do get like the premium Softex or the leather seats with a package where you can get the heated seats, heated steering wheel, sunroof, power tailgate, and this one even has the JBL stereo. So I'll show you guys all this here in a minute. But these you can see with like the plastic fender liners here. These make them really rugged and durable. So if you're looking at maybe taking it, you know, I don't want to say off-roading too seriously, but you know, if you're going down forest roads or maybe, you know, muddy grasses at concerts and stuff like that, you know, the plastic wheel archers will kind of catch a lot of the dirt and debris, stuff like that, especially if you add the mud guards on there, which this one does not have. But just an overall extremely well-built vehicle. And as we go into the inside, I'll show you, you know, from the inside standpoint, why I think they sell so well. So as I've done in a lot of my videos, I like to use myself as kind of the test subject when it comes to how well I fit in vehicles. And just for perspective, I'm about 6'3" and about 200 and, well, I'd like to say 215 pounds, more like 230 pounds. So a pretty average weight, especially for my height. But I'm definitely very tall with very long legs. And right now I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I'll flip this around. And as you can see here, there's a ton of room. I can actually adjust the seat. I can tell it's sitting a little high. But once I get in here and close the door, there is a lot of really good leg room for the driver. I can actually move this seat even further back. So that's with the seat fully extended all the way back. And honestly, it's a little bit too far for this steering wheel for me to really feel comfortable unless I'm just kind of in a lazy stance. But there's an incredible amount of leg room here. There's an incredible amount of leg room on the front passenger side as well. And with this front seat being all the way slid back, we can now actually look at the rear legroom situation and see that as me, a 6'3" guy with that seat all the way back, if we had 4 big dudes in here, I can actually get in here. Now, are my knees right here by the chair? Yes, but honestly, if I was up here driving, I would not need that seat all the way back. But what's nice is it's really well sculpted. You can see as a taller guy here, it's got a nice kind of contour to the seat, so your legs fit in here nicely. A lot of new cars have really good seat design there now. But honestly, even if you had 4 big dudes in here, it'll definitely fit us all comfortably. Or if you're imagining having like a car seat in here, there's definitely bigger SUVs that are out there. But if anybody's ever put a car seat in a car versus an SUV, they know just how far back that seat can go and how, you know, the seat angle isn't all that great. So even like a infant car seat with the base and all that fits really nicely in here. And then even stuff that doesn't appear on every single trim model of other SUVs, as you can see, you've got standard reclining seats. So you can actually see right now there's a little bit of adjustment between the one I'm sitting in and the one that's beside me, and you can very easily lean them back so you actually get a nice reclined stance. You've got a nice wide center console here with cup holders and everything there. And then again, looking at rear passenger stuff, you've got your air vents for the rear. Now, you don't actually have like separate climate control back here like you would in a Highlander or Pilot or Telluride, something like that. But it's still just nice to get that extra little air back here, heat back here. Nowadays, they have a million phone chargers, which you can see are all USB-C at this point. So for somebody to sit in the back, not only is there lots of good cup holders, because you've got the ones here in the center, but of course you've got larger bottle holders in the door. And then if we look at headroom as well, so you can see headroom is actually fantastic as well. Now this seat is reclined, so let me put it back up a little bit. So now it's fully in the upright position, and even still I'm 6'3", and we can see here there's a hump right here which makes it look a little bit closer. But if we look at where my head is actually sitting, there is probably at least 3 to 4 inches of room here. Yeah, you can just see how much room there is. So there's absolutely no feeling of being cramped or without space or anything like that. Now, on the topic of space, as we talked about, this car has the power lift gate, which is optional. About half of the RAV4s out there. We can see once we open up this rear hatchback, there is just a ridiculous amount of room back here. It's nice and flat. It's very wide. You can see just how much room they've shaved out from where the wheel arches are. A lot of these now have a little pocket here. This one, as you can see, has the JBL stereo, so it has the woofer there. And then unlike most new cars, especially hybrids, you do actually have a spare tire here. You can see there's a spare tire. There's your front plate bracket, all of your tools. Looks like this one even has the cargo net in here as well. There's the rest of your tools for that. So even if you know, you're looking at a lot of the other cars that don't have this stuff, spare tires still exist in these. I'm not exactly sure who's honestly changing a spare tire at, you know, an 85-degree day on the side of the interstate, or when it's 45 degrees and raining on the side of the interstate. But I know people freak out about it not being there, and there it is. But what I like about this is it's just so much usable space. And because there's such a squared off profile here on the back of the RAV4, you can see as this door closes with that kind of boxy back end shape, you can see just how much room there is to just cram stuff all the way to the glass and to the roof. You know, a lot of these SUVs and stuff are, you know, very tapered and very angular, and they kind of slab this off here. But what's nice is since it's so boxy in the back, you can stack up stuff really as high as you want to. And then if you want to fold the seats flat for more storage, even with that seat back all the way, you can see there's no interference there. There's no power folding seats or anything. You just lift the lever. But you can see just how easy that is to fold. And then from the back, it is almost dead flat. I mean, there's a slight incline to it once you get towards the end. But unlike a lot of cars, there's no hump. There's no weird plastic organizer. It is completely flat the whole way down, which, again, a lot of people like to bring this up, but you could technically car camp in this. Now, I'm 6'3", and I'm not easily going to sleep back here unless it's like on, I don't know, an emergency situation on an off-ramp or on a rest area or something like that. But for those that do like to car camp, you could definitely just throw a sleeping bag back here, throw a blanket back here, and rack out. So that's another just reason why I end up selling a lot of these RAV4s is people like to look at this kind of stuff, especially with these hatchbacks. They make this really nice all-weather cargo cover that actually covers the back and the back of the seats here. So even if you had all the seats flat, you could have basically a rubber floor liner go all the way back. So really good use of space there. this one kind of talking about the Lunar Rock. Another reason why I like this RAV4 specifically is I'm a huge fan of this white and gray two-tone. It's really gray and gray, as Toyota would call it, but if you really look at it, to me, it looks like it's white and gray. And I think it's just a great color combo, especially when you put it against the Lunar Rock. I know it's funny watching my camera. It basically is showing lots of different color patterns on this Lunar Rock color. I've seen it look a little bit blue and a little bit green, a little bit gray, just from how the sun is, you know, falling off of it. But really incredible seats. I think the seats have the proper bolstering as well. They're wide enough. There's a little bit of a shoulder padding here, which does grip you in the seat. And now if we come up here and actually look at the dashboard, it gets even better. So again, with this being the XLE Premium, you do have the memory seats on this option. This one, of course, does have the heated seats here with 2 switches. And then underneath the steering wheel here is the Baconator, or the heated steering wheel. And then now looking at the rest of this, on the 23 models for the RAV4s, prior to the other generations, they had a totally different screen here, and you had a few buttons here on the left and right. So there's 2 new screen options now. There's an 8-inch, and I think this is like a 10-inch or 10.5-inch, something like that. I should probably know, maybe it's 12 inches. I don't know. There's a larger screen size on this one, and it comes as part of the JBL stereo, and you can actually just see how nice and big this screen is. And what's great about these systems is, even though I do wish that they had the buttons still there, I don't know why they had to get rid of those. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So now you can just jump in the car, have your phone in your pocket or a bag, and all the features that you love are available right there on the screen. The touchscreen on these is extremely responsive. I don't know if they've gone to like an OLED screen on these, or it's just a really high quality LCD panel. But either way, if you just really get up to it, if you're used to kind of the quality of phone screens nowadays, I feel like this is just as good. I thought for a second this had the screen protector on it. It was so smooth on it. It does not actually. It's just how it is. But I just love how big the icons are. They've got this kind of rack of icons here on the left, right there by the driver. So if you want to easily switch back and forth between things, it's all right there in front of you. And again, unlike a lot of new cars, you do have physical air conditioning controls right here in the center. So you don't have to do anything on the screen here to adjust your heat, your heated seats, your AC, your defrost, any of that. You know, in true Toyota fashion, you do still have a bit of old school here. You can have auto climate control with dual zone climate. Again, we talked about the heated seats being here, but it's even still very easy to just manually adjust your fan speed or manually adjust the direction of air, which I do feel like in a lot of cars has also become buried in menus as far as trying to adjust. And then looking at the center dashboard here, also in 23, they started making this larger LCD screen more standard in these, versus before it was just on like XSEs and models such as that. But what's nice here is you get a lot of information. This little center section here has pretty much been the same on all Toyotas, with some slight variances there. But you do get a little bit of information that you could look at here. And I will say, I think I've done a separate video on this before, but you know, in my opinion, you can see right here, we've got this analog, it's digital, but it's an analog looking needle that moves up and down. But if we go over here into the settings, I'll show you what I typically like to do. Here we go. So we can go down into, you can see there's gauge cluster settings, press and hold to get into that menu. And then we'll go from meter type, we'll go from analog to digital. And you'll see it kind of changes the format here of the screen. There we go, it's a little bit better. I know it's flickering a little bit there. But if we now go out of the settings here, you can now see that you've got your digital speed right there front and center. And it kind of just cleans up the whole display where you've got a lot less information just all over the screen and in your face. So I think it's a cleaner look. You know, for some people, they like it better the other way. But again, nice, good gauges. And because this is a hybrid, there's no tachometer. They give you this pseudo tachometer, which just kind of shows you, you know, if you're making power, or if you're in the charge mode or whatever. So it just kind of tells you what's going on with the engine. And then looking here at the steering wheel, of course, we've got the Toyota Safety Sense programs on here. So you've got your adaptive cruise, which is extremely easy to engage. You can turn on and off here. And then you can see these 3 bars, or I guess maybe it's 4 bars on these newer ones. Let me see. No, it's still 3 bars. Priuses have 4. But you can adjust your following distance real easy. You can disable or turn on or turn off the lane departure system, which I know I'm not really a huge fan of myself, so I usually turn that off when I'm driving. So really easy access to this stuff while you're going down the road. The same camera that does the pre-collision and everything is also doing roadside assistance. So you can see the road signs up there in the parking lot here picked up the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So if you're ever curious where you are. So again, it's just really nicely laid out. The XLE Premium, as you can see here, does have a leather wrap steering wheel, which is something you can get on a lot of the RAV4 models. And again, it feels pretty good. I'm not going to pretend like this is a premium SUV, you know, like a Lexus or even a Toyota Venza, which I could do a totally different video on, but it just has a good solid feel to it. Yeah, there's a decent amount of plastic everywhere, like you'd expect there to be. I mean, this is a Toyota, it is a RAV4, it's not a BMW, or, you know, it's not an X3 or a Q5 or something, but at least generally where you're going to be engaging with the car, you know, this is a pretty nice textured plastic here. This has got kind of like a pseudo leather or rubber here. It's on the dashboard that is molded to look like leather, which is nice and soft to the touch. Same thing on the doors. You've got the same kind of leather pattern here. And then again, decent use of plastic depending on, you know, where you look for it. But otherwise, for the most part, it's really nice. You've got really good storage here. So as you can see here, a nice huge center pocket with tons of phone chargers. So you do have one charger up there, which is specifically for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto if you want to be wired. And then underneath here, you can see you've got 2 additional USB-Cs, as well as the 2 that we saw in the back seat. But just incredible room. And then really for the passenger side over here, these are the little features and quirks that I like about a lot of well-designed new cars. Is just good storage. And this is a nice huge pocket that can easily fit, you know, like a wallet, a cell phone. And, you know, I feel like we all have like pens and sunglasses and stuff that, you know, is always flopping around the car. And that's a great spot for that to be, or for the passengers to store stuff while they're in here. And then again, more storage up here. Everything's got a nice rubber coating on things now, which I feel like they used to just have plastic. So that's a nice improvement as well. And then again, you've got the door pockets here, which have great space for bottles. And because this has the JBL stereo, I can't really turn this up because it'll probably demonetize the video, of course. But you have pretty good stereo in here. It's not going to rattle your neighbor's windows or anything like that. But I do feel like the JBL does give it enough of a punch that it is a worthy upgrade over the factory stereo. You can see the extra tweeters that way there, as well as the woofer that we saw in the back. So I wanted to pop the hood on this just to have a brief conversation about the hybrid powertrain in this, because I know a lot of people have questions about the hybrid powertrain, and maybe they have questions about the whole hybrid system as a whole, and wonder if it's going to be unreliable and is it easy to work on and to maintain. And the nice thing about these RAV4s and most Toyotas in general now is they've had this hybrid technology for like over 20 years now. It really is the late 90s when they came out with the first Prius. So they've got years and years of refinement on these cars. You do still have a 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle, like a regular 4-cylinder in here. It's the same engine they put in the Camry. It's the same engine that they put in the Highlander hybrids now as well. So what's cool about these hybrid systems at this point with Toyota is they've really simplified their manufacturing process, where they really only have like 2 or 3 kind of main engine designs for their passenger vehicles. And this hybrid setup is pretty much in all of their cars, minus like the Corolla hybrid, Prius, stuff like that. But it's easy to work on. You can see you can still check your fluids. You still got washer bottles. Everything is real nice and easy to access in here. Anything that's orange is the high voltage wires off the inverter and stuff like that as part of the hybrid system. But honestly, you know, the way Toyota gives you a 100,000 mile warranty on the electric components and a 10-year, 150,000 mile warranty on the battery really means that you're not ever going to have to worry about this being an issue. And if it is an issue, most people are going to be under warranty, because there's just not a whole lot of people that'll buy a brand new car and keep it all the way to beyond 150,000 miles. They actually pack the hybrid batteries underneath of the rear seats, which is a massive improvement over the older hybrids where you lose a little bit of cargo space. But you can see here there's a little bit of like a air intake vent here, just to kind of keep the batteries cool and whatnot. But you know, you're sitting on them and you'd never even know, because you don't lose any kind of storage. There's no visual cues that it's there. Honestly, minus the fact this has the hybrid badging on it, it looks just like any other RAV4. So now that we spent some time outside the vehicle, I wanted to take a few minutes just to show you probably the last and final reason, and this is usually the nail in the coffin for why people end up in these things, but part of this hybrid system, and you'll pretty much have this on any hybrid, it's not just specific to the RAV4, but these things are so quiet and they've just got such smooth power. So right now we're rolling around the parking lot, and because we're at low speeds, really the electric motor and the hybrid system is doing the majority of the heavy lifting. There's no engine revving, there's no transmission noise, there's no shifting going on. This has got the eCVT, where it's got the electric motor and the CVT transmission that are basically paired together. So there's no gear changes. It's just nice and smooth and quiet. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but if you've ever been around these in person, you know they've got that annoying hybrid noise that the freaking federal government requires all cars to make. And there is like a little whirring noise. And honestly, if it weren't for the whirring noise, this thing would be completely silent. So I do wish that we had a better way of doing that, but oh well. So when we're talking about the power on these hybrids, believe it or not, these hybrids actually have about 20 or so more horsepower, more on the RAV4s at least, than the traditional 2.5 liter 4-cylinder without the hybrid. And while on paper that doesn't sound like a whole lot, that's still like about a 10 to 15% increase in overall power output on these cars. And where that difference is really made is when you've got the electric motors that are doing the work. I don't know exactly what the torque curve looks like, but you can feel a massive difference where at lower speeds when you're accelerating, the electric motor is honestly doing a ton to help things out. So if I go ahead and flip this dial into sport mode, it's going to basically give us all power from both systems. And it's extremely powerful. Again, we're not talking V8, you know, twin turbo V6 levels of power or anything crazy like that. But for a normal person to have a car to drive every day, this is going to be more than enough power to get you on and off the interstate, to get you, you know, around people on back roads and stuff like that. It's just honestly more than enough power, and it feels great. Again, I don't want to say it's sporty or fast or anything like that, but because it's got such a seamless power delivery, it just feels really good. All right, so that should do it for today. If you're one of the few people that's made it this far into the video, I truly appreciate it. It's always nice to have you guys around to check out the videos. This is probably not the most exhaustive video about every difference and all the pros and cons about a RAV4, but as somebody who's been working at the same dealer now for 3 years, and I've probably sold, I mean, probably somewhere between, I'd say 150 to maybe 200 of these RAV4s, possibly even more if I actually do the research on it. I've got a very strong opinion on why they are so successful. I have almost never not sold one once I put somebody in the seat of one to take it down the road. And of course, there's other benefits of a RAV4, like the typical Toyota stuff, reliability, resale. I feel like those kind of go without saying. But if you just want a really good formula of a car, you know, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, you know, it's not a luxury car, it's not a sports car, it's not a 4Runner or a Jeep Wrangler for off-roading, but it honestly is going to get 95% of the people, 95% of the places they want to go, and get almost better fuel economy than anything else. Is just a regular hybrid in this space. So that's why I love these things. If you guys would like to have more content on a RAV4, or have questions about the different trim models, or maybe why I also think you should buy a RAV4 hybrid and not a RAV4 Prime, I'd be happy to talk about that as well. But as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.